Exactly. Pretty easy out there, Mo. Let us know a little bit about yourself.
Okay. So, I recently graduated from Hopkins with a master's in counseling. So, a lot of my work there centered on seeing individual clients, group clients, adolescents, adults. And it really helped me figure out how I want to, I guess, use my natural gifts as far as like talking to people, communicating with them, being a listening ear. And it really put me, I guess, on the path of figuring out what I really want to do, which is being a mental health therapist. So right now, with everything that's going on, I have to wait a couple months to actually be licensed. But I've also been offering like some different services to still kind of incorporate my degree.
What moment? So whether it was like in class or you was just like sitting in the park, like what moment like confirmed for you that like, all right, mental health is like the field I want to be in. Like this is what I'm about to like prosper in.
I think for me, a lot of it started when my mother passed away. And I moved into a new household with my father. I wasn't really familiar with him. And my sisters, that whole family dynamic, it was very, I was uprooted really abruptly. And so in that process, I wanted to kind of understand more about myself, my thoughts, what kind of led to my mother's demise, how so many things happen in the Black community that plague us and build on us and ultimately, lead us to walking around with so much trauma, heaviness, and hurt and pain. And so I really wanted to kind of get to the root of my own healing and figure out how I could kind of take the things that I had experienced and turn them into something beautiful. And so in my process and journey of trying to learn more about myself, I started to learn more about human behavior and how all of us kind of have and when I say all of us, I mean Black people specifically, kind of have a shared experience of dealing with trauma, having an abundance of emotions, but not really having access to resources, not really having spaces where we can feel comfortable discussing our emotions, not feeling comfortable with the idea of therapy. All of those things kind of informed my decision to kind of seek the mental health field.
All right, so I know from your IG, if a lot of people don't know you personally, like you drop a lot of like gems to people, just like, hey, you should do this because this will help with this part of like healing for you. What is your like self-care regimen like?
It's funny because it recently like just changed. And so that's something that I think that's interesting about self-care. You could be doing something, you could have a routine that has really worked for you for years, but then your life will shift, you'll grow, you'll change, you'll evolve. And now maybe some of the tools that you used to use don't really work anymore. So I used to just be a person that was really just like a writer, just journaling everything out. But just in this new season in my life, journaling, not to say that it's not effective for me, it still does work, but I've found other ways like yoga, mindful breathing, talking out loud. Those are like some new things that I've really integrated into my self-care. Unplugging from social media, just taking time to be quiet. Typically, I guess in the past, I was really like in tune in a way where I needed to write everything out, but now I'm more so in a space where I want to be silent and kind of wait for answers to be revealed to me instead of writing every single thing out.
So you do this little concept on your page. I don't know if it's more so like IGTV, like a story thing. I can't remember which one it was, but it's unwind and chat. What sparked like that idea to bring that to like the social platform?
So this year, like entering this year, I realized like, okay, I do have a background in public speaking, and I really used to be heavily involved in it a couple years ago. But then with grad school and just other different things, I kind of like stopped. But public speaking is a part of my brand. But if I don't have any videos or any anything, my platforms to show that, oh, I actually, can speak in public or can carry a conversation over a digital platform, how will people know? And I wanted to find ways to still, because with everything that was going on, I couldn't have any more in-person workshops, which is normally how I get, I guess, information out to people. So I was like, okay, what's the way that, people can have access to probably some of the things that I would talk about at a workshop, but something that they can just click on. And so the concept of unwind and chat it is like Instagram, definitely doing IGTV, but then it's also a service where people can book individual and group virtual sessions where it'll kind of be similar to the content that you'll get in my workshop. So we'll talk about healing, relationships, trauma, anything that you're dealing with at the current moment, and anything that you may need assistance with kind of like sorting through. So along with it being like gems that you can kind of see on Instagram, it's also a way to book a one-on-one service where we can really like deep dive into whatever it is that you're presenting with.
Cool. So you said that you work with like adolescents and adults.
Mm-hmm.
How do you like mentally like prepare yourself to deal with a client? Because that's like, in a sense, you're taking on like their drama, or like what is hurting them, or what is like harming them at that moment. So how do you like mentally prepare yourself to like go into that?
That was something that really took time for me to navigate and figure out when I first started doing it. So at the program, we have an internship that goes across 3 semesters. So I remember my first semester of seeing clients and being one-on-one, I would literally leave the session like feeling depleted, like my body would be hurting, and just taking in all of that stuff. So it's small things that I do now to kind of manage my self-care in the moment and after. So like in the sessions, sometimes I'll find myself like really leaning forward when the person is talking, but that's really like deepening the energy exchange. So I've learned to like sit back a little bit so that I can kind of still definitely want to be connected in the session, but like keeping things a little bit more separate so that I'm not walking away carrying all of your stuff. After each session, I always wash my hands and like stand outside of my room and like breathe out whatever it was that we just went over, and kind of meditate on like compassion and intention and things like that, just so I'm clearing my space for the next person. So doing those things like throughout the day, like making sure I'm stretching, making sure I'm taking 5 minutes, making sure that my basic needs are met, because sometimes like when I first started, I wasn't eating properly, I wasn't staying hydrated, so it was like not taking care of those basic things, and then getting this influx of information, you're going to feel depleted at the end of the day. So now like I make it intentional of like having my snacks, having water, making sure I'm taking bathroom breaks, even if that's going to make me 2 minutes late to the session, making sure that I am prioritizing my self-care, because at the end of the day, I'm trying to teach clients how to do the same. And so if I'm walking in frazzled, burnt out, what type of message is that sending to them? And I'm supposed to be this helper.
Yeah. So you just graduated, like you said, and you also have an LLC now. How is it balancing like grad school and like getting to the LLC status, prepping for the website and all that?
It's kind of like having to prioritize what needs to get done. It's like balancing that whole 9 to 5 aspect, but then also, giving attention and energy to your dreams and your goals. So throughout this last semester of grad school, it was really hard for me to kind of find that balance, and I was placing a lot of pressure on myself, because I had fallen under that pressure to create, to put something out. Like I'm seeing everybody's doing all this stuff. Okay, I need to make sure that I'm staying consistent. But I've worked on kind of releasing that burden and not making it such a bad thing if I'm not in the space to create, or if I don't have the energy. And I've realized that giving myself that freedom has made me look forward to creating, instead of it feeling like a task, or feeling like, oh, I gotta post this, I gotta do this for the website. Because I had to remember, like, oh wait, this is my business. So if I decide I don't want to put anything out, like, who do I think is judging me? Who is going to tell me like, oh, you're not doing enough? And so once I kind of came to terms with that, it became easier for me to invest more energy into my business.
What would you say is the scariest part about like knowing like, oh, I own a business? Like,
I guess like because I used to be very uncomfortable with like talking on Instagram. Like I always wanted to make videos, but I was like, what if everybody's like, this is dumb? That's what I always thought. Or like, what if it's not authentic? I always wanted to make sure that whatever business I have, my true personality, my true authentic self is coming through that. So that was something that was really scary to me. I was trying to figure out that balance and that blend of making sure I'm showing up as myself, and not necessarily being attached to the outcome. Like, of course, I want people to, of course, you have a business, you're catering to clients, you're catering to customers, but also making sure that I'm happy and satisfied with what I'm putting out. Regardless of the number of likes or inquiries I get, definitely taking those things into consideration because it's still a business, but not letting it impact the way that I view myself and my self-esteem.
What's the silliest thing that you do and you don't think nobody's seen, but somebody else?
That's so funny. So it's kind of hard to explain. So like when I'm just standing in line, I will like twerk by accident, like move, like you know, like when you be like relaxing, like the little butt thing.
I can't be saying on camera. I be doing that.
Yeah. It's just like relaxing, and then like somebody be like, "What you doing? Like why you moving your butt?" I'm like, "Oh, it's an accident." But yeah, I be feeling embarrassed when I'm out and do it. But
it's okay.
I feel like everybody does it. Right?
Everybody do it. Everybody do it.
Because you do it too. You try to like. Everybody does it. I'm sorry because we all do that.
Right.
But I always get caught every time.
What's one thing you miss doing with your friends in college that y'all slightly still do, but like y'all did it a lot?
So me and Key, our college friends, I miss just laughing, like being in the dorms, being in apartments, and just like random and just getting our little drinks. We weren't supposed to have drinks on campus, but we used to get it.
When I was writing this, I was like, the thing I'm remembering, because I'm just seeing y'all doing this, is them damn music sessions. Happening.
Yes.
And it'd be like 10 songs in a row, and all I could do was be like, look at this.
Yes, we would have really good like music vibes, laughing, cooking, eating. It just was always like family vibes. Like, you know, we would all get like irritated with each other sometimes. But I just miss having like that shared experience. Like we just chilling. We don't even have to have a particular plan, but it's going to be a vibe. That's what I miss about college.
What is next for your company? If it's not too much for you to share, what's next?
No, yeah. I think that, because I've had the business, it got incorporated in 2018, but I've been doing this type of work as far as like workshops and organizing and merchandise since 2017. But it was kind of like sporadic, like wasn't really showing like my future vision, so it was kind of like I was doing things here or there. So right now I still feel like I'm in my planting season, and I'm still kind of like finding my footing and trying things out. So what I hope to see in the future is just for right now, me just continuing to brand myself and me making sure that people know who I am and what I'm doing, and making sure that I'm doing stuff like this, and not being afraid to say like, oh, I have a business, because it used to make me feel really like, oh, am I boasting? Like, is this something that I should bring up? So taking more advantage of networking opportunities, and not being afraid to say like, oh, I do own a company. This is what I do. This is what I offer. But my confidence has definitely been strengthened, and I think that's something that sometimes gets overlooked with business, as far as the individual has to really do some deep work before jumping into it, because it's going to be some highs, it's going to be some lows, there's going to be some plateaus where it's like maybe nobody is, you know, reaching out for this, but making sure that you're in a space where you're solid enough to kind of handle those ups and downs that come with business.
Cool. All right, so last question. During these times, as far as like the protesting and the police brutality, like at a high, and it's like the tip of the iceberg for the Black community. Is there any advice you could give to like anyone just like dealing with this like mentally and trying to digest it, just to like not to say be at ease with it, but don't put too much on themselves as far as trying to digest the information?
I think it's like a lot of pressure right now to like, okay, you have to do this. Like, you have to go out and protest. You have to, you know, post. You have to stay present. You have to stay plugged in. Things that are all extremely important. I do agree with to a certain extent. But I also think that as a community, we have to give ourselves grace and understand that we are all carrying this burden of racism. So we don't have to place extra expectations on ourselves for how we should be responded. I think that we all have a role in the lane that we're in. So I would say, like, you know, stay in your lane. Me, I'm not the protesting. I'm not going to be outside, you know, really in the streets. I'm so thankful to the people who are, but that's not the ministry for me. My ministry is more so in the background, you know, processing the things that go on, unearthing some of the traumatic things that we've experienced that have led us to this point. So I would encourage everybody to kind of find their lane and find, you know, their individual way of protest. And also not feeling guilty unplugging sometimes, not feeling guilty for still finding joy, you know, going to happy hour with your friends. Yes, we're in a, you know, even if it's having a happy hour at your house, still making sure that you're creating spaces for you to connect and still enjoy pieces of your life. We're already, you know, we're all, again, carrying this weight. We are allowed to give ourselves some grace and still, you know, find some joy in the midst of all of this pain and hurt.
Okay, thank you.
That's it?
Yep.
All right, so we out. Sorry.